Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. This is my Shefflera. I have not pruned it in quite some time, and it's got to come inside. So we're going to do some serious branch selection, and we're going to look it over for all of its flaws, and we're going to take back all of these long shoots, and we're going to do it gradually, and then we'll look at the branch structure and see what has to come off. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to gradually work the canopy down by cutting the longest shoots back, and I'll leave a little bit of the petiole. And by doing this, you get to see those branch ends, or those trunk ends. I guess they're branch ends. And it helps you figure out what your next move is. This is the tallest. I'm also looking for critters, and I don't see any. The ends of these little leaf petioles dry up and fall off eventually. And you can see just doing that has brought the height of this down. But there are some problems inside that we're going to have to look at. You see how taking the tallest ones off is really telling me to cut back this stem altogether, this trunk altogether. And then we'll look for which direction to want to grow the branch and see if we've got ample choices to help a decision like that. So leaving the leaf petioles on helps me see where a leaf was a lot clearer, and will help me make the next decision. And no matter where you cut, there's always the next longest branch sticking out. This will be coming in, I'd say, within a week. Unless the weather gets real nice and I can still leave it here in the greenhouse. I do keep the heat on in the evening, but the temperature hasn't gone down that much yet that it's been a worry. But it will begin to be a worry, so I want to stay one step ahead of it. Okay, I wonder if I can zoom in even further now that I've cut off most of the canopy. Let me take a look. I think you can see pretty well from this view. All right, let's dive in and let's investigate from a place where we can see. First of all, there's a couple of leaves in here, and frankly, I don't really care how much foliage I take off of this. I didn't defoliate it this year. This would be the first time if areas end up being defoliated. Okay, let's look at the structure. This is my only newest aerial root. There's an old one here, and there's one that started and dried up there. Now this has been in the greenhouse, so I was expecting a lot more aerial roots to grow, but woe is me, none have. And last year I said, oh, maybe this can be the front even with this big scar, because I kind of like the density that this actual separate tree here is providing as a backdrop. So I'm either going to have to carve this down and let it reheal or something. So I've got some decent movement here, but I've also got branches crossing. So let me take my first cut right there. And I'm trying to decide if I'm taking this whole piece off at this point. I don't think so. I've got to do something with it. I'm going to cut this to here. And I have a leaf scar right there, so if I get something growing in that direction, that will be good. Wonder if I can clean this up any better. I can. I cut it here, and I got a tiny little branch developing there. And I like that, so I'm going to leave that. Cut off this leaf. This is growing under that. But it's got my aerial root. I was just considering removing it. But I am going to take it back to this leaf, and hopefully I'll get some growth out in that direction. This one, it's kind of long without, well, let me take this little leaf off. Now I could remove this in favor of that one with the aerial root. This crosses behind it and got that movement because I cut it here. This cut just happened. This only really looks good from this angle. It is a back branch if this were the front. It's not quite an eye poker. Why don't I take it back as a Hail Mary cut and see what grows? I have a leaf scar here, and that's the direction. Is it? Yeah, that's probably the direction I want. Okay. So instead of losing this, I'm offering it to show me what it's got. This crossing here bothers me. But a lot of stuff crosses there. These are two branches that grew up side by side, and they're kind of fusing down here. So with that in mind, if it becomes one branch, then I don't want this piece at all. Let's see where I have to cut this guy down to. Probably here. I'm going to take this piece off. I'll get some rubber cement on those cuts. Actually, I'm not done there. Okay, just to finish that thought, follow this part of the branch up. That's where I cut the tall leaf off. It will naturally grow in this direction, but if I cut it short, it should grow out in that direction. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Cut this leaf off because it's confusing things from the other side, as is this one. And this one. I think the tree is healthy. I don't think it needs to be repotted. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to work on the root base at some point. Good change in direction here, and nice branch in a good spot off of it. But, and I got another good change in direction here, but I think it's getting a little too tall, so I'm going to take it to here. The one next to it's okay, and I wouldn't mind if it branched out here and here. I'll take this leaf off. Nice movement here. A decent division here. But it's way too long. I'm going to take it off there. And I've got a leaf scar here and one here. So I'm hoping for something here and there. It would be nice to have more ramification down low here. The only way I'm going to get it is to force it. So there we go. Okay, so the apical branch wants to be here. And should I work on this? I could work on it a little bit. I mean, I'm only prolonging the agony by not. The bulge is the worst on the outsides here, but it's almost healed over. This is kind of a pity, but now I'm hoping that heals better. And I'm just going to use a razor to sharpen those edges. And hope I get some really good healing going on here. I'm going to get a lot of rubber cement on that because I want it to start rolling over. And mostly I'm concerned about the dead wood in the middle. I definitely don't want water to infiltrate that. And I'm putting a thinner coat of rubber cement toward the outside of that. All right, so I've wanted to do that for a while. I don't know if it's going to eventually look better. I doubt it. Here are two other places where, you know, it healed over with a bulge. Probably had to carve the sides down, but I don't want to kill the branch. But let's look further up on this branch. It's starting to grow in this direction, and I like that. This part crosses back in here, if you can see that. So I'm going to try and give this branch a chance and take that off. Boy, talk about getting easier to water, huh? All right, so this is about the height I want for the whole tree. This is a little long. So looking at this, I think I want to come back further with this guy, because this is really a stronger apex. And I'm going to come down to here. Now I'm trying to decide if I keep this branch going forward to give this branch some movement, because this, from this angle, looks like a straight continuation. There's a lot of taper there, which is good. And I think this branch is not so strong over here, but the end of it looks a little knackered. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take this off. And I'm going for movement here. This I'm hoping grows in this direction. Probably should take this back further. Yeah. And in case you're wondering, my technique is highly influenced by Nigel Saunders. I'm not sure I ever get those results, but I watch them like a hawk. I think I've got a leaf scar here. I think that could come down to there. And I am leaving foliage on this. Do I want to change my mind about the front again? I might when we get to that side. This. I like what it did here. It's nice. I have movement. I could make that a little more graceful, but I want to wait until it toughens up a bit. I mean, this is super long, so I think I've got to go way back with this. This leaf scar is here, but I don't really want to go further in this direction. I might have to come back pretty far on this. Point of no return? I hope not. And I think to there is good. Ooh, did I damage that? Maybe. If I take it off, I bet it'll grow a new one right away. I think. All right, let's look at it from this side. Oh, look. I didn't even see that. Come on, aerial root. How can I guide that down? Do I have a straw? I'll get a straw. All right, let me cut away this little branch so we can see what I'm doing. And Can I leave that one? Yeah, I can leave that one. So I cut a straw to length and I split it up one side. Maybe I slip it up from one side. Yeah, that makes more sense. Slip it up from one side and bury the one end in the soil. It's pretty straight, right? Not bad. It bends as it comes out there, but maybe that'll improve once it hits the soil and starts to thicken up. That might get better. All right. Maybe that was a success. I don't know. Looks pretty good to me. All right, where were we? Oh, yeah. I left that. I left that. I'll leave this one leaf there. Can I clean this up? Okay, this, if anyone remembers, this tree is a separate little tree I stuck in here just to fill it out. And I've questioned the wisdom of having done so every time I look at it. So this tall one, I do like the foliage back here, so I'm not going to go too far down with it. This one, I'm just going to cut this leader off and this crossing. And this one, why not? I'm going to get new growth. There's no doubt about it. I'll leave that. I'm going to cut this back to there. And I think this has my Shefflera pruned up. That crosses, but do I care? This can come out. I think I'll take this one off. That's it for my Shefflera. Much easier to water now. Thanks for keeping me company in my backyard.